Can they see me? What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of New Era Prep Nightly here on the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network. I'm your host, Christian Proscia, and I'm joined here with my one and only producer, Mr. DJ Stephen Luker, back at it again on the turntables. Stephen, just got out of class. Thank you so much for producing this show. Love you, buddy. We've got another banger in store tonight. I'm going to be honest with you guys. We're going to keep it short and sweet. I have a family fantasy football draft with a lot of money on the line. So I kind of got to start draft prepping for that because I'm not really about to put up $100 into the family ballot just to get last. Hope y'all can bear with me for one Wednesday afternoon. I'm sorry, guys. Next week, we're going to keep the bangers going. But like I said the other day, absolute special week of and crazy week of football happened. The Canes obviously B to A, drained the swamp, turned Gainesville to Canesville. FSU, a lot of question marks. FAU versus Michigan State. What were the positives? What were the negatives? What can get worked on? All of those were talked about last night on the Listella Report, where myself and Robbie, who very humbly named a show after himself, at least I tried to name it something else, not the Proscia production or something like that. But yeah, Robbie and I tackled all of those topics last night on the Listella Report, as well as highlighting FAU's upcoming matchup against Army alongside my colleague himself, Army creative intern Dan Calvelli. If you missed it, make sure you tuned into last night's episode. The football craziness absolutely continued earlier today. Patrick Surtain got paid. Yeah, I think that was a worthy contract, but when you really break down the numbers, Patrick Surtain is now making the 13th most money if he was a wide receiver. So it's crazy to see that resetting the DB market will go only so far as opposed to wide receivers. I thought that was just an interesting stat to bring up, which Jamar Chase should blow out of the water in the next couple days. As you can tell, I'm not recording from my couch. I am here at my dorm room, and by that I mean my grandparents' house, in Boca Raton. But I know y'all don't care about that. Y'all want to hear about high school football. Week 3 of the high school football season is just one sleep away. This week features multiple strong matchups alongside a couple bye weeks. Week 3 bye week? All right. Sign me up. Having to do two weeks of work and then get a little bit of vacation. Steven, doesn't that sound nice? Yeah, he's nodding his head behind the screen. I would love a vacation personally. But Palm Beach matchups for this week include North Miami Beach traveling upstate to Atlantic High, Cardinal Newman traveling to Palm Beach Gardens to face Benjamin, Boynton High versus Santa Lucius. Is this the real battle for Boynton? We'll find out this weekend. Wellington High versus Park Vista, Palm Beach Central versus Spanish River, Boca High versus St. Andrews, battle for Boca. That's what the kids are calling it. Really creative, really bit off of the battle for Boynton a week and a half ago, but Garcia High traveling to Hollywood Hills down south, Somerset Academy Canyons hosting Key West, John I. Leonard traveling to the beautiful city of Boca Raton to face Olympic Heights, Oxbridge versus Somerset Academy Key, My Kings Academy Lions traveling down to Gulliver Prep, Seminole Ridge traveling out to the Muck to face Pahokee, Royal Palm Beach traveling to Suncoast, Palm Beach Lakes versus Glades Central, Glades Day versus Jupiter Christian, Palm Beach Gardens versus Jupiter, Dwyer traveling to 772 to face Martin County, Forest Hill versus Lake Worth, and St. John Paul traveling down to Boca Christian. Those are the Palm Beach matchups. I want to dive into a couple of them a little bit before we move up and down state. First one, North Miami Beach versus Atlantic. This was a game that was played last year. Honestly, was a lot closer of a game than it should have been. I think Atlantic, who got better as the season went on last year and got better throughout the offseason. I think Atlantic will command this game from pretty much the opening snap. I'm expecting, I don't like using the word blowout, especially with high school football. I will gladly say it for college, but I'm expecting a quote unquote dominant victory for Atlantic. Boynton High versus Santa Lucius, like I said earlier, could be dubbed the real battle for Boynton. We might have to trademark that one. Sounds like a lot of work, Steven. I don't know if I want to do that. I'm just a college kid, guys. I don't know if I want to get into any trademarks right now. But Boynton versus Santa, I think Santa's going to come out and they're going to do Santa things. I think Santa's offense is really starting to click, and I like that as a favorable matchup for the Chiefs. I really like their wide receivers for another big game. I think Santa comes out on top of this game. Wellington versus Park Vista. I like Wellington coming out of this game. The Wolverines are red hot, even with a loss last weekend. I think that Welly, actually, they lost 2 weeks ago. They won this week. That's right. Um, Too many games, guys. We have 36 teams in this county. Sue me if I forget what happened. But Wellington High I think Wellington High comes out on this one. Palm Beach Central versus Spanish River. I think this game is going to be closer than a lot of people think on paper. I like the Broncos on a nail biter. I think there is a lot to be desired offensively, and I think Palm Beach Central needs to turn that on quickly. Having four of the top seven best wide receivers in Palm Beach County, we need to see more of the air show, especially with such a high level quarterback like Chance Routson. I think the Broncos need to turn it on, and I think this is honestly one of the better games to do that. Spanish River, I love their offense. Champ Smith with Blake Wallace. I'm expecting a big game out of them as well. Boca High versus St. Andrews, I think both teams are getting back on the right foot, both with wins last weekend. I like St. Andrews defending home turf, home field technically, but defending Paradise out in Boca. I like St. Andrews coming out on this one. Garcia versus Hollywood Hills, not really much to say. I think Garcia goes out and dominates this game from the opening snap. Really like what I'm seeing out of their offense, expecting another big week from Caleb Butler and Zion Vilma. John I. Leonard versus Olympic Heights. This one's a little bit of a toughie. I think this is a very equally matched game. I'm going to give it to Olympic Heights defending their home field. Oxbridge versus Somerset Key. I like Oxbridge coming out of this game. I think that Dorian Fauntleroy is starting to hit his stride. Remy Diorsi, always a threat offensively at running back, and then their 1-2 wide receiver punch with Jaden St. Fort and Ed Meyer St. Jean is lethal. Ed Meyer has really been taking wide receiver one level strides to start the season. I'm expecting a nice win out of Oxbridge. TKA versus Gulliver. TKA coming off of a very strong win against a very good Fort Pierce Westwood team. I like the Lions coming out of this one. Once again, please invite me back to homecoming. Definitely not biased reporting. We don't have biased reporting on this show. It's all facts, no fiction, no trends. You know the deal. I keep it 100 at all times with you guys. TKA, I think, comes out on top. I'm expecting a big game from the Lions. Really, the Lions' defense, I think, has potential to blow up this game. Seminole Ridge versus Pahokee. I think Ridge is about to get back on the right foot, but I like the Blue Devils coming out of this game. Royal Palm versus Suncoast. We spoke a little with Royal Palm quarterback Max Greiner on Monday afternoon. If you didn't tune in, you should go. You should go and watch it. Please, I get paid off of view counts. If you love me, watch my show. But great conversation with Max. He's hyped up for the remainder of the season, but we're not looking too far ahead. We're looking about what's to come. I like Royal Palm airing it out tonight. Dang, I didn't know you went to Wellington. Shout out Mr. Whalen. Shout out Coach Rich Whalen. That was my old swim coach. I did not go to Wellington High, but I used to swim for him. I am a TK alum through and through. I bleed red, white, and blue. Not because I'm an American, not because I'm an FAU owl, but because I'm a TKA Lion at heart, always and forever. Palm Beach Lakes traveling to a red hot Glade Central. I like Glade Central coming out of this one. They are cracking the top 10 leaderboard for the first time this season. A little bit of a spoiler alert. Y'all will see the graphic up very soon. But I like Glade Central once again, now moving to 3 and 0. Glades Day versus Jupiter Christian. I like Jupiter Christian coming out of this matchup. I think Coach Baz and his squad are going to handle business this week. Palm Beach Gardens versus Jupiter. This is a rivalry that runs deep in the north end of the county. All three of the schools, Gardens, Dwyer, and Jupiter, they honestly hate each other's guts. They want to be the best team in the upper part of the county. I like Jupiter coming out of this matchup. We spoke to Coach Cradman a couple days ago. Once again, watch the show. Pretty please and thank you. I think his squad is more than prepared for this week. I really like how just emotionally sound and mentally sound this team is. They're a very mature group despite being so young. I like the Warriors coming out of this one. Dwyer versus Martin County. I like Martin County getting back in the win column. Lost to Seminole Ridge last weekend. I think Martin County handles business, gets back in the win column, like I said. And July Sanchez, shout out to you because I'm hoping you will be at that game. But we'll see. Please send pictures from the game and post them. Forest Hill versus Lake Worth. I like Forest Hill coming out of this matchup. A very underrated squad. I think Forest Hill is going to – it's just going to be a clean game from the Falcons. They don't really commit a lot of penalties. They don't really have too many silly mistakes. I like Forest Hill coming out of this one. St. John Paul versus Boca Christian. I like St. John Paul. Not really much analysis because I haven't had the opportunity to really dive into either of these teams. But I like St. John Paul coming out of this. The Lax Bros will reign supreme during this weekend. Palm Beach teams with bye weeks include West Boca and Inlet Grove. Traveling up to the 772. Now we've got Homestead from all the way down in Homestead, like right around Dolphin Stadium. Fins up, everybody. First Dolphins game this weekend. Homestead versus Vero Beach. I like Vero Beach coming out of this one. Vero Beach is a very strong team at home. Despite the loss last weekend, I think the Fighting Indians will get the job done. Treasure Coast versus First Academy. I like Treasure Coast coming out of this one. Not really much analysis. I wish my good friend Mike Fabian was able to hop on the show tonight. Unfortunately, last minute circumstances for him. Couldn't really make it. John Carroll versus Centennial. I like John Carroll coming out of this one. I think that the Rams are red hot. They have flew up the rankings and the leaderboards. I think John Carroll handles business. Harmony versus Sebastian River. I like Sebastian River coming out of this one. And Pinecrest versus St. Edwards, not St. Andrews. I like Pinecrest coming out of this one, all the way from Lauderdale to the Vero Beach area. They better win because that is going to be one long drive back home. So now with Palm Beach County and the 772 done, I would like to announce our two games of the week, our real highlight games. Number one, from Palm Beach County, Cardinal Newman versus Benjamin. I really like this matchup. It's a rivalry as old as time, and by old as time, I mean however long they've been in a district together. I'm not that old. I don't remember that, Steven. I'm not old. I promise. The kids, yep, don't you shrug your shoulders at me. I can see you. They can't. I'm breaking the fourth wall right now. But the kids call me Unc. I am not Unc. I am 20 years old, guys. Let's stop that narrative. Cardinal Newman versus Benjamin, big district rivalry. Every year it is a strong game. I love what I like. I love watching that game every year. We will have live and accurate and fast coverage of this game on New Era Prep. all social medias. Stay tuned for that. I like Cardinal Newman walking into the trap and taking over the trap, as the kids say. I think Cardinal Newman's star power of Jaron Hewley, Jalen Brown, Max Redmond, Brennan King. I really like that offense slash defense. They all play both ways. I think that Newman's going in and they're going to run the ball. Being able to have such a modern offense with a strong running back and a mobile quarterback, I talk about it all the time. I love it. Being able to extend plays outside of the pocket and get gains anywhere necessary. I would rather have a mobile quarterback 11 times out of 10 over Drew Brees. Yes, Drew Brees was an amazing quarterback, but I would take Lamar Jackson over him in a heartbeat. Mobile quarterbacks and what they bring to the game is the new age of football. I love being able to see it at the high school level because it only prepares for college readiness. Benjamin has a very strong squad. They're currently their record does not reflect their talent. Unfortunately, starting 0-2, facing off against two of the top teams in the state of Florida. But I like Cardinal Newman just a little bit more. And then our second game of the week matchup is Jensen Beach versus Fort Pierce Westwood. The number one team in the Treasure Coast 772 area, Jensen Beach versus Fort Pierce Westwood, coming off of a very unfortunate loss to my TK Lions. But I think that Jensen versus Westwood has the capabilities of being one of the better games played throughout the course of the year. Jensen coming off of a nail biter field goal victory. I thought that was a great game. I'm really excited to see what this game is going to be. I'm going to go with the upset. I think Westwood's going to come out on top of this one. I live for chaos, everybody, especially for when I'm not the head of the rankings. Mike Fabian, my good friend, I wish you nothing but chaos making these rankings next week. So I like Westwood and I like their star power of having such an elite offensive core, especially led by senior wide receiver Colton Foster. Those are the two games of the week I really want to talk about. Now we're going to take a little trip down to the 954 and the 305. Stephen Luker, also known as Mr. 305. But first game I want to talk about is Miami Columbus versus St. Thomas Aquinas. Big FAU on FAU commit matchup between Columbus linebacker Hector Chavez and St. Thomas Aquinas wide receiver Brandon Hoke. Keep wanting to say he's a tight end. He is a receiver. He's just a very tall receiver. Must be nice. Short kings live forever. And offensive lineman Logan Husband. I think that this is going to be a very good matchup. I like St. Thomas coming out of this one because it's St. Thomas Aquinas. And if you're able to beat St. Thomas, you're having a very good year. Blanche Ely coming off of a big upset win against Chaminade Madonna. Not a lot of people really were talking about it. Ely versus Stranahan. I like Ely. I think that they are red hot. They have such a talented offense. I think that Ely wins this one. West Broward versus Plantation. I like West Broward coming out of that one. Coconut Creek versus Baylor. The ending of the Creek Monarch game has still yet to be played. It was supposed to play, what's today, Wednesday? It was supposed to play last night. Didn't end up happening. Another rain delay. Have no clue when this game is going to get finished or if it is, but I found out at like 4 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon that this game was not happening. I like Creek coming out of this game. And finally, Stoneman Douglas versus Deerfield. I like Deerfield coming out of this one. I think Deerfield is a very talented squad. Best game in the 954. If y'all want to watch some elite football, make your way down to Chaminade Madonna, where American Heritage will travel to the Nod Boys. Once again, Chaminade Madonna is a better team than their record reflects. Very young core, losing a heavy senior class with Jeremiah Smith, who just went off for 2 touchdowns in Ohio State's season opener. hell of a day for JJ. Josiah Trader, Kane's wide receiver. It's all about the U, baby. He knew where the right spot to go was. Yeah, JJ, JoJo, Cedric Bailey, NC State backup quarterback, and Zaquan Patterson, Miami defensive back. They lost a lot and they gained a lot, returning Denarius Gray and then adding a plethora of wide receivers, including uh, names are slipping me, Kobe Howard and Jabari Brady. There we go. Um, but I like Heritage coming into this matchup. I think Heritage is red hot, and they have not beat Chaminade in a very long time. They want to change the narrative. And I think having Diabell and Malachi Tony is honestly one of the X factors for this game. These two can get hot, and they do get hot. I think that this is a Heritage dominated game. Finally, taking my talents down to the 305, like LeBron Braun. We've got Miami Central versus Booker T. Washington Saturday evening. Should be a very good game. I like Miami Central coming out of this one. Miami Northwestern coming off of an unfortunate loss to Venice, one of the top teams in the state, facing off against Miami Northwestern, who's another top team in the state. I think Miami Northwestern will get back into the win column over Carroll City this weekend. Edison versus Killian. I like Killian coming into this game. Edison, Edison's offense was neutralized by a very good Miami Central team, but I think Killian will be able to sneak in a win here. And then South Dade traveling to Osceola, where Osceola should take control of this game. Like I said earlier, there are kids that have already graduated high school that are making impacts in college football as we know it. This upcoming freshman class featuring Nebraska quarterback Dylan Raiola, Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Williams, who should still be in high school, and then Dylan Stewart from South Carolina. These guys are taking over college ball as we know it already. These guys are the future, and the 2027 draft is going to be huge. Adding in Florida State stars like Amari Williams and Luke Cromahook, who will inevitably be getting very high snap counts over the next couple, hopefully this season, but over the next couple years. I think that the 2027 class is crystal balled to be one of the best classes from the NFL draft in the very near future. I'm hoping that all of these guys continue to shine throughout their freshman years or keep getting opportunities like I know that they have the ability to produce. But it is Wednesday night, so y'all know what that means. We are going to talk about the New Era Prep coverage schedule of the weekend. I am driving myself up to Moorhaven, which is all the way almost it's past Vero, Stephen. I am putting miles on my car for Westminster versus Moorhaven. Should be a really exciting matchup. Wanted to make my way out to Moorhaven at some point this year. Had an opening, so I decided we're in Terrier Country on Thursday. I will be covering Westminster versus Moorhaven. Oxbridge versus Somerset Key will be headlined by Mr. Deontay Johnson. John I. Leonard versus Olympic Heights will be headlined by Jack Bartlett alongside Cass Clayton. She will be providing a live broadcast style for John I. Leonard versus Olympic Heights. Stay tuned for that. Should be a banger episode. Somerset Canyons versus Key West will be headlined by Mr. I Don't Speak himself, Alex Muniz. He's back in the fold after taking a quick vacation to Colorado. Gets his bye week hit early. Friday night, I will be at Palm Beach Central versus Spanish River. Really excited to see that matchup. Like I said, I think it has potential to be a down-to-the-wire game. Really excited to see it. Really, really excited to not have to drive all over South Florida, leaving FAU and driving 5 minutes to Spanish River. Should be awesome. Might hit up Vinny's All Day Cafe after. If you know, you know that is the best spot in Boca. I might not be the only one hitting up Vinny's because Miss Riley Moore and Mr. Ken Stevens will be at Boca High at St. Andrews. Another quick drive from Vinny's, quick drive from FAU. Win-win. But that game, I'm really excited to see what's going to come out of that game. Game of the week, Newman versus Benjamin, will be Dan Calvelli, Ryan Smith, and Mar Williams. Should be a great night of coverage for them. Two elite videographers and a very good photojournalist in the making in Mar. Expect some bangers coming out of Palm Beach Gardens. Wellington versus Park Vista, another game where we're sending the house. Jack Bartlett, Zach, I forget his last name. I don't save his last name in my contacts, and Miss Angelina LaBelle. The three of them will be at Wellington versus Park Vista. The quote-unquote battle for Boynton will be headlined by Mr. Fenton Aristome, Santa Lucia's versus Boynton High. Stay tuned for coverage of that game. I'm really excited to see what's coming out of that game. And finally, North Miami Beach versus Atlantic High. I don't speak. Alex Muniz will be in the fold for that game. And then the best day of the year comes, Steven. You know what Saturday is? It's the FAU home opener, baby. FAU versus Army. I have been waiting since spring ball for this. I've been waiting since the last game to be able to be back out in Paradise for game day. Really excited to provide coverage of that game. We're sending the house for that game, and by that I mean we are going from tailgate all the way to post-game interview. That's right. I'm going to be at the tailgate, guys. Let's have a day. Should be a great afternoon. If you want to go to FAU versus Army, first off, it is a military appreciation day, veteran appreciation day. Go out and support your vets. Kickoff is at noon. There are still tickets available. Pack out Howard Schnellenberger Field. Should be a great game. I'm not ready to watch the Army triple option and have to watch Army run the ball 117 times during this game. But we'll get a lot of tackle videos, guys. But yeah, go out to the Army FAU game. Should be a great afternoon. If you want to go to FAU versus, or not FAU, the Owls are always on my mind, guys. If you want to go out to Miami versus FAMU, another great option. Either which way, spend your Saturday watching some great college football. But we are wrapping up tonight's episode. Like I said, we're a little bit of a shorter episode today, just getting you quick updates on what's to come because I've got a fantasy football draft in 20 minutes and I kind of need to prep for that. But hope everybody has a great weekend. As always, make sure you're tuning into New Era Prep socials for all things related to South Florida high school football. Make sure you're tuning into FAU, Owl's Nest, Bleacher Brothers, and New Era Prep for live coverage of the Canes game and also the FAU game. For Bleacher Brothers, FAU, Owl's Nest, and New Era Prep, I'm Christian Proscia. Hope everybody has a blessed weekend. Have a good one, guys.